Okay, so let's dig a little bit into the Details tab, since this is going to be basically your home base for the Reader team. There are multiple sections here that we're going to go through. I'll try to go through them pretty quickly, but I might stop on a few of them to give you more information. So the first one's going to be the preview and sharing. This is basically where you can preview your own application page, or you can send a link to readers. So this is what you would do if you want them to apply for your Reader team. You would copy by right-clicking, copy link address, for example, and share it with your readers. From there, they can go to the application page and sign up. Now, you don't want to immediately do this because you have some settings that you're going to want to put together before sending that out, but once you're done with this page and you've updated it, then that's when you'll start sending out that link. Next is status and management. Is the Reader team still active? So maybe you've already published your book, it's been 2 weeks or a month or whatever, you've gotten all the reviews in and so on. The team is no longer being used. Nobody's in here, nobody's actively submitting issues anymore, or responding to questions, etc., etc. You would want to click no on this to set the team inactive rather, and then you will go ahead and update those details. Now, why would you want to do that? Why bother to do that, I should say? Because on the reader side, they're going to still see your book on their page, even though it's no longer actively a reader team. It's done. We're finished with it. But you're like, so what? What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that you might have had them on 10 reader teams, and maybe they're working with other authors as well. And if there's a bunch of stuff littering their page, well, that can be a little bit annoying for the reader. Next thing you know, they're just going to start leaving those teams and such. And that's going to impact you when we get into the reader section, because it's going to show that they have left certain teams of yours. So you really don't want that. The best thing to do is just to say, hey, this team is no longer active. I'm going to set this to no. Now, the good news is on our home page, you're going to get a pop-up that comes up giving you reader team information. And it will tell you, hey, this team hasn't been used in a while. Do you want to retire it? So you can just click to retire it right from the home page. You don't have to actually come in here and do all the work. It will retire it for you, and that will automatically put it into the retired section of your reader's view. They can still see them, but they would just have to click a link to do that, and we'll show that a little bit later. All right, so the next thing is, are you still accepting applications for this team? So this team is brand new. It's just getting started and so on. But you say, I only want to have a certain number of people to be able to apply. Let's say, your term is 25 people. As long as this is set to open, though, applications are going to come in. So if they come in fast, you got to keep your eye on this, because if they're coming in fast, you might say, oh, I got to set this to no. And then you set it to no, you update the reader team, and then it's going to stop anybody else from applying. When they come to apply, it will say something on the lines of, the author has already reached its, their limit for the number of readers. And if you, reach out to them directly if you want to discuss further, and so on and so forth. What we can't do is stop additional people from coming past the number that you wanted. So if you had set, in your own head, set it to 25, and this jumps to 30 because it was really popular, you got 30 applications. You can decline people, but you can also just keep an eye on it and set this back to no. Are you accepting issue reports? So that's going to go over here to the open issues section, where your readers can submit any problems that they may find while reading your book. What you do here is, just leave this to yes generally until you are set and say, okay, I'm done with this, no more issue reports. Now, if you set the reader team active, no, it's not going to be able to, they can still submit issue reports actually, but they'll have to go to their archives to do it, and readers generally do not do that. But what I tend to do by the time I'm done with the reader team, all three of these are set to no, just so you're aware, but they're set at different times. So, the first one obviously is going to be applications will be set to no. So it'll look like this for a while, and then I will ultimately go like that, and then I'll go like that. So why would I want to turn off issue reports? Well, maybe you are on a deadline of, issue reports due on June 1st, because you have to get it to your editor by the 5th. And so you want to fix all the issues that came in, and then get this off to your editor, and you don't want to have additional issues coming in after that. Now, some people feel differently about that. They say, no, I actually do want to fix all of my issues and get it to the editor. Sure, but I'm going to leave this open because, editors make mistakes. So the editor comes back with their copy editor or proofread, and when you go through it, you finish, doing all the fixes there, and then you go, let me check these new issues to see if anybody caught stuff that maybe the editor didn't. So it's completely up to you how you want to work that. All right, the next thing up are milestone dates. Now, these milestone dates are going to show up on your reader side and also on your calendar. And basically what you're saying is, hey, reader, this is when I'm going to deliver the book to you so you can start working on it. This is when I expect the issue reports to be sent in to me. And this is when the book is releasing, so that's when you're going to start getting notified about some review requests, and so on and so forth. Speaking of review requests, that's the next thing on our list. I'm going to dig into this a little bit in a different video, so let's just go ahead and kind of leave that one for now. However, there is something that needs to be noted, and that is in the next section. If you decide not to require the reader's email addresses, this is not going to do you any good. So it is recommended that you do require this, but again, your mileage may vary, so you might say, nope, I'm not going to require email addresses. The next thing is the communications group. What does that mean? Well, for me, I typically do like a Facebook group. Some people do Discord, some people have their own forums that they use, or bulletin board system, whatever you call it, and so on. The main thing to note is that if you set this to yes, make sure that you put a link directly to your group or your Discord server, whatever, in here, because if you don't, then you're going to be requiring them to join a group, but there's not going to be a group to join. Okay, if you're not requiring a group, just say no. So why would you want a group? Well, we don't do communications for you back and forth in the system. This is not a communications tool, it's a management tool. And so if you want to have real-time discussions with readers, then you're going to want to have a place to do that. So that's why we give this option for you to, enforce that with your reader team. Okay. The next thing is, what email address do I give to readers? This is important because, maybe it's just your standard email address that you want to give them. That's up to you. But some folks, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, I'm going to give, I'm going to create something on my own server that is a combination of the name of my book, Grave Games, so Grave Games team at my author books, whatever your URL is, .com. And so that way you're just getting emails on that section for that particular team that you're working with. Completely up to you. I do highly recommend, though, that you at least provide some way for them to contact you via email. All right, so the next section, this is what's going to be used to build your page, except for one little detail here. This is what's going to be used for your readers to say, where do I go to download the book? That's what this particular thing is for. However, we have, what is your pen name? What is your cover image, and what is the book description? Again, this is just going to show up on your on the page for the application. That's all it's for. I personally upload mine to my WordPress site, and then I use that link to display the information. We don't allow you to upload images to our service, so you do have to host your image somewhere else. And we also don't process book downloads from our service. So that would be something like, I just put in Google, it's just a fake thing here, but it would be like your book funnel, or maybe you have a Google Drive that you can share a folder on, or something to that effect. It does have to be a URL. So if you don't have this as a URL, then in your communications group, or if you are emailing or chatting with your readers in some other way, that's where you would tell them, hey, I'm going to be emailing you my book, or however you handle it. It's completely up to you. All right, so then we have terms for the reader team. These are things like, what does the reader get? What do you expect from the reader? What additional info are you going to provide them to make a decision if they're going to be able to join your team or not, or if they want to? You'll notice the red text says put one item per line. That's important because each line is going to be a bullet point. So you don't want to put any styling or enters or anything like, or enter keys or anything else, character turns on your actual text. And just to show you, it's like, well, wait a minute, this one's wrapping. That's correct. It does wrap because of the width of the input field, but you'll notice it's still on one line if I expand this out. So it's just wrapping. All of these are going to be the same way, so make sure that it's only one per line. So what do readers get? Things like, you get an ebook for everybody else, you get your name in the acknowledgments, whatever you want to put in here, it's completely up to you. What do you expect? Now, this is just something I personally do. We all know that Amazon has terms of service that says we cannot require a person to do a review. So what I do is I say they have to do at least one thing. I have to know they're actually participating in the team. Otherwise, they're just getting a free book. And we all know that's not what we want. So I'm telling them either you have to leave an honest review, or you have to report typos, or you have to share on Facebook, Twitter, and so on when the book launches. I hope you'll do all three, but you have to do at least one of these. If you don't, then you're not going to be on the next team. So I find that most of my readers do all three, but some don't. Some actually are rabid sharers of my stuff, but they're not reviewers. However, I still keep them on because, like I said, they're rabid sharers and they're really helpful in getting me sales. And then additional info, anything you want to put in here, it's completely up to you. So you'll see in here, it's got the dates again. Well, wait a minute, you're going to get access to this book by the 10th, the issue reports are due by June 1st, and the book launches on 30th. But I already put the dates up here. That's because these dates are going to show on the reader's side, which I'll show you in a second over here in this window, but it's not going to show on the application page. So you would need to put in additional information for them here to make a decision as to whether or not they want to join the team, or if they have time to join the team within the constraints that you've given them. Plus, you'll also see something like this book contains adult themes and language. So as you can see, this is just any information you want. Just keep to the one line per item. Now, before we jump down here, I'm going to jump over to the reader side, and I'm going to show you what a reader team join page looks like, or an application page looks like. So you basically have join the reader team. It gives the cover, the name of the book, the author's name, the book description, and this is where we're seeing that what's in it for you, what's expected of you, and the additional info. As you can see, here are my dates that I typed in and so on, and the whole note about the containing adult themes and language, and it requires their email address. So if they don't provide an email address, then not going to let them in. All right, so now I'm going to actually jump over here because I've already applied and got this reader in, just so for sake of demonstration purposes, it's a lot quicker this way. Okay, so jumping back here, this is where we're going to start seeing things like questions for your readers. Again, put them on one line. Same with chapters, which I'll talk about in just a second. This one, you don't have to put on one line, but you'll notice it says leave blank. It says thanks for participating. I will show you that in a second. You can just leave this blank if you don't want to do any reader team announcements. It's not going to send emails to people. It's just going to put it inside of the tool, but I'll show that to you in a moment. All right, so looking at questions for your readers, you put them on one line each. And you can put whatever you want. Do you like the main character? Whatever. And I just put in some stuff really quick here. So if we go back over here, as you can see, this person can go to our reader team. So they'll see a cover of the book. You go to the reader team and you see questions from our author. So here they are. Do you like the main character? How did you find the pace of the book? Are you looking forward to the next one, right? So if we go back over here, we'll see there are those 3 questions. And so this way, readers can go ahead and, click on any of these and submit them. As you can see, this one's already been answered. That's so I can show you that in a future video. All right, and then we have chapter for issue reports. So this is an important section. You have to be super careful with this. What you want to do is make sure that your chapters are exactly as you want them to be. So you don't, before you go, creating the reader team, your book is pretty much, it's done. It's ready to go, right? Some people, myself included actually, will actually go in and submit chapters every week to a particular team. So maybe as I build the book, I'm submitting these chapters in there. But I'm very cognizant of making sure I do not change the order of these at all. So you're like, well, why would I do that? I wouldn't put 1, 3, 2. That doesn't make any sense. Now, but what you might do is maybe you have chapter names, right? And so if you say, oh, actually chapter 3 should probably be in this section, or you might even go like this, I wouldn't change 1, 3, 2, but I need to add another chapter before this one. So now 2 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 4. And then you have in this line, the new 2. So now it looks like this. Well, the problem is that you already have issue reports for this when it was chapter 2 and this when it was chapter 3. It's based on the line, the position on this screen that's going to make the difference there. So it's going to mess up your issue reports. In other words, just try to be very cognizant of that and make sure that you are putting in your chapters in their finalized order. Okay, and then finally we have thanks for participating, which is just an announcement, and I'll show you that. As you can see, here it is right at the top. Thanks for participating. That's the only place they're going to see it. If we change that, it'll show up in here as whatever we change that to. And as far as those book issue reports are concerned, as we come over here, we can see chapters 1, 2, and 3 are in our drop down. And so if we come back over here, chapters 1, 2, and 3 are in our list. So that is a quick overview of the details tab. We're going to jump into these other tabs in just a moment, in the next videos, I should say. But I just want to make sure that you fully understand the concept behind this. I know it's a longer video here, but there's a lot of meat inside of this particular section.